To use the square root property to solve equations, it's important to first isolate whatever is being squared. For example, here in the equation 3x squared minus 5 equals 6, only the x is raised to the second power. So before we take the square root of both sides to get that x by itself, we need to isolate the x squared. We need to get rid of the minus 5 by adding 5 to both sides. And this leaves us with 3x squared is equal to 11. And then we divide both sides by 3. And this leaves us with x squared is equal to 11/3. Now that we have the thing that's being squared by itself, we can take the square root of both sides. On the left side, the square root of x squared is just x. On the right side, the important thing is to remember when you take the square root of both sides to solve an equation, you put a plus or minus at the front of the number on the right side. Now the square root of 11/3, sometimes people are okay leaving it as plus or minus square root of 11/3. Some people like to make sure you rationalize the denominator whenever you can. So if we think of this as plus or minus square root of 11 over the square root of 3, to rationalize the denominator, we would multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 3, and we end up with plus or minus the square root of 33 over 3. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have 3w minus 4 squared equals 36. So here the entire parentheses is being squared. So we've actually already got the thing being squared by itself. We can go ahead then and at this point take the square root of both sides. Let's go ahead before we forget and put the plus or minus in front of the number on the right side. Now on the left side, the square and square root undo each other and we're just left with 3w minus 4. On the right side, we have plus or minus 6. Now at this point, you would want to try to isolate the w, get the w by itself. The problem is we can't add 4 to both sides at the moment because on the right side, we have two different possibilities. It could be a positive 6 or a negative 6. So if your variable is not by itself already, once you take the square root of both sides, and you have an expression that you need to isolate a variable equal to a positive or negative number, we need to write this with two separate equations. Once where our expression equals the positive number, and then write it again with that expression equal to a negative number. So when you have an expression with a variable equal to a positive plus or minus number, you write two equations, one equal to the positive number, one equal to the negative number, and now we solve them both. The first one, you add 4 to both sides, giving us 3w equals 10, and then divide both sides by 3, we have w equals 10/3. The next one, we add 4 to both sides, giving us 3w equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 3, you would have w equals negative 2/3. So 10/3 and negative 2/3 are both solutions to that equation. If you'd like to solve the next problem on your own, pause the video now and resume when you're ready to see the solution. So here, the thing that's being squared is just the x plus 6. We need to isolate x plus 6 squared. So our first step is to subtract 17 from both sides. This leaves us with negative 2 times x plus 6 squared is equal to, and negative 183 minus 17 is negative 200. Next, we divide both sides by -2, leaving us with x plus 6 squared equals, I'll leave just a little bit of space, 100. Now that we've got the thing being squared by itself, we can take the square root of both sides. When we're solving an equation and we take a square root of both sides, we'll stick a plus or minus in front of the number on the right side. It's a good habit to learn to go ahead and just do that first at the beginning. Now on the left side, the square root and square cancel out, and we just end up with x plus 6. On the right side, we would have plus or minus 10. Because it could be a positive or negative 10, we split this up into two equations. X plus 6 equals 10, and x plus 6 equals negative 10. To solve the first one, we subtract 6 from both sides, and we have x is equal to 4. To solve the next one, we subtract 6 from both sides. We have x is equal to negative 16.